If you are a man over 60, I want you to pause for a moment and really hear this. What I'm about to share could be the thin line between living your later years with peace and confidence or spending night after night in discomfort, trapped in a cycle of urinary urgency, restless sleep, and the quiet frustration that comes with a body that no longer feels like your own. Across America, countless men are making the same everyday mistakes without realizing they are silently harming one of the most delicate organs in their body, the prostate. And once the damage begins, it rarely announces itself with loud warnings. It creeps in slowly, one restless night at a time, one trip to the bathroom after another, until suddenly life no longer feels free. I'm Dr. Maya Kapoor, and after decades of helping men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I can tell you the truth. The men who age comfortably and those who suffer are not divided by luck, but by the small habits they choose each day. I have seen 80-year-olds living with no urinary discomfort at all, and I have seen men a decade younger completely undone by problems they ignored. The difference lies not in age, but in awareness, and that is why today I want to walk you through the 10 most dangerous habits that silently enlarge your prostate. You may already be doing some of them without even realizing the cost, but the good news is every single one can be changed. Let me begin with something deceptively simple: not drinking enough water. Many older men believe they can avoid those frustrating nighttime trips to the bathroom by cutting back on fluids. But the opposite happens. When you drink too little, your urine becomes concentrated, acidic, and irritating to the bladder. And because the prostate sits just beneath that bladder, every drop of irritation above trickles down as pressure below. Over time, dehydration sparks chronic inflammation, and inflammation is one of the main triggers of enlargement. To make matters worse, many men past 60 take medications that already dry out the body, diuretics for blood pressure, for instance, and when you add low water intake on top, the effect is magnified. The fix is not complicated. It is as simple as sipping water throughout the day, even when you are not thirsty. Your urine should be pale yellow or nearly clear. That's the sign your body is protected. Don't fear water. Respect it. It is one of your greatest allies in keeping your prostate calm. Now, let's talk about another silent enemy of the prostate: hours of sitting. I understand how easy it is to spend more time in that comfortable chair after retirement. The armchair feels inviting, the couch becomes a familiar companion, and the days can slip by with television, reading, or long stretches at the computer. But every hour spent seated without a break presses down on the pelvis like a heavy weight. That pressure reduces circulation, starving the prostate of the blood flow it needs to stay healthy. And when circulation slows, inflammation grows. I have seen men who spent years sitting most of the day develop swollen prostates and stubborn urinary problems without ever connecting the dots. But the danger isn't only inflammation. When you sit too long, the pelvic floor muscles, the hidden sling of support beneath your bladder, grow weak. And when those muscles weaken, your bladder never fully empties. That leftover urine lingers, irritating the prostate and creating a breeding ground for infection. The answer is surprisingly simple. Every 30 minutes, stand up. Walk for just a couple of minutes. It doesn't need to be a workout. It could be a trip to the kitchen for water or a stroll down the hall. That simple movement relieves pressure, restores circulation, and gives your prostate space to breathe. A sedentary lifestyle may feel harmless, But over time, it is one of the quietest yet most damaging risks for men over 60. Another habit that sneaks into daily life without much thought is the heavy hand of caffeine. For many men, that steaming cup of coffee in the morning feels like an old friend, the ritual that starts the day. One cup usually is not the issue. The problem begins when that one turns into 3 or 4, or when sodas and energy drinks are added on top. Caffeine is a natural diuretic, which means it pushes your body to produce more urine. For a prostate already sensitive or slightly enlarged, that extra demand becomes a heavy burden. It doesn't stop there. Caffeine also tightens the muscles around the bladder neck, making it harder to empty completely. The result is more leftover urine, more pressure, and more irritation. I've had men look at me in surprise when I asked them to try cutting back, and within weeks, many came back saying the nighttime urgency had eased. Moderation is the key. Keep that morning cup if you love it, but think twice before reaching for a second or third. Your prostate will thank you for every small step of restraint. Closely tied to caffeine is another dietary culprit: overly spicy and processed foods. A little spice brings warmth and flavor, and no one needs to live on bland meals. But when hot sauces, peppers, and heavily seasoned dishes dominate the plate day after day, they create a state of ongoing irritation in the body. And irritation, once again, leads straight to inflammation. The prostate, already vulnerable after 60, responds to that background fire by swelling. The danger grows sharper with processed foods, packaged snacks, deli meats, frozen dinners. These may be convenient, but they are loaded with salt, unhealthy fats, and chemical additives. Salt creates fluid retention, which increases the pressure on your urinary system. Bad fats and additives disrupt hormone balance, lowering testosterone and raising estrogen, and that shift directly influences prostate size. I've seen men who relied on processed meals for years wonder why their symptoms worsened so quickly. The truth is simple. What you eat every day shapes the health of your gland. The alternative doesn't have to be boring. Fresh vegetables, fruits, nuts, fish, and clean proteins fight inflammation and support your hormones naturally. When you choose food that nourishes, you are choosing a prostate that serves you instead of one that holds you hostage. Then there is a habit almost every man has been guilty of: holding urine. Perhaps you're out driving, perhaps you don't want to leave a conversation, or maybe you've simply grown accustomed to ignoring the urge. But here's the truth: when you hold it in, your bladder stretches and presses directly on your prostate. Over time, this constant pressure irritates and inflames the tissue. Older men are especially at risk because the muscles that control urination weaken with age. That means incomplete emptying, and stagnant urine left behind becomes a breeding ground for bacteria and infection. Once infection sets in, it inflames the prostate even more, and suddenly, what was once a simple delay becomes weeks of discomfort. Protecting yourself is as basic as listening to your body. When the urge comes, respect it. Don't wait, don't rationalize, go. Your bladder and your prostate are teammates, and when one is forced into stress, the other suffers alongside it. Another silent destroyer is smoking, and even secondhand smoke. Many men know the risks to the lungs or heart, but they don't realize how powerfully tobacco attacks the prostate. The chemicals in every puff constrict blood vessels, choke circulation, and damage delicate tissues. Over time, oxidative stress builds up, leaving the body less able to repair itself. The prostate, already sensitive with age, responds with swelling, irritation, and in some cases, the beginnings of disease more serious than enlargement. I've met men who stopped smoking decades ago, but still spent their days in smoky environments, and their prostates carried the scars just the same. The encouraging truth is that recovery begins almost as soon as you stop. Within weeks, blood flow improves. Within months, inflammation begins to ease. Your prostate can start to heal when you give it that chance. If you've never smoked, you hold a gift. Protect it fiercely by staying clear of smoke altogether. If you do smoke, remember that letting go isn't losing something. It's reclaiming years of freedom. Another mistake is postponing visits to the doctor. Too many men wait until pain forces their hand, but prostate enlargement often grows quietly, long before the signs are obvious. A simple exam once a year, a PSA blood test, or a quick physical can reveal issues before they take hold. I've seen men catch problems early enough that a few lifestyle changes were all they needed, avoiding medications or surgery altogether. The reluctance usually comes from embarrassment, but there is nothing shameful about taking responsibility for your health. In fact, the bravest choice a man can make past 60 is to prevent rather than react. Preventive care isn't a weakness, it is a shield. It protects your independence, your sleep, and your peace of mind. And when something is found early, you have options, gentle, natural, manageable options that disappear if you wait too long. Diet plays another role, and here, red meat is the culprit. A steak now and then is not the enemy, but when red meat is eaten daily, especially processed forms like bacon, sausage, or cold cuts, the consequences build. These foods are rich in saturated fats and chemical preservatives, both of which spark inflammation and disrupt hormone balance. Digestion slows with age, and heavy meat lingers in the body, leading to weight gain and pelvic pressure. I've seen men who reduced red meat to once or twice a week and replaced it with chicken, fish, or lentils notice remarkable changes: lighter digestion, more energy, and calmer urinary symptoms. The lesson is simple: variety and balance. Your prostate doesn't need deprivation, it needs support. A plate filled with colors from vegetables, grains, and lean proteins is not only nourishing, it's protective. Another risk that hides in plain sight is belly fat. Many men see the extra weight around their waist as just part of aging, maybe even a small cosmetic annoyance, but it is far more than that. Belly fat is biologically active. It releases inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream that travel through your body and directly irritate your prostate. Men with larger waistlines are far more likely to struggle with frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom, weaker flow, and even problems with intimacy. And it isn't only about chemistry. Extra fat around the abdomen presses physically on the bladder and pelvic organs, adding constant pressure that your prostate must absorb day after day. Hormones also shift in the presence of excess fat. Testosterone levels decline while estrogen rises, and that imbalance fuels enlargement. The solution does not lie in extreme diets or harsh routines. Instead, it lives in steady, consistent choices, smaller portions, fewer sweets, and daily movement. Even short walks around the neighborhood begin to melt away fat. And I have seen men who lost just a handful of pounds find their symptoms ease and their confidence return. The waistline tells a story about your health. Keep it in check, and your prostate will breathe easier. The final and perhaps most underestimated habit is ignoring stress. Stress may begin in the mind, but it always leaves its mark on the body. When you live with constant worry, tension, or frustration, your body releases cortisol and other hormones that keep you in a state of alert. Over time, those hormones create inflammation, tighten muscles in the pelvis, restrict blood flow, and weaken your immune defenses. The prostate, sitting at the center of that storm, swells under the weight of it. Many older men carry silent stress, financial concerns, health worries, family conflicts, and never speak of it. But the body always knows. Symptoms like urgency, frequent urination, or pelvic discomfort often flare during times of stress, not by coincidence, but because of direct biological impact. The hopeful news is that managing stress does not require perfection. Simple habits like deep breathing, stretching, walking outdoors, listening to music, or spending time with friends can reset your nervous system. Even 10 minutes of calm each day can soften the body's tension and allow your prostate to rest. Laughter, quality sleep, and connection with others are not luxuries. They are medicine as real as anything prescribed. And so we arrive at the bigger picture. 10 habits, each one seemingly small, yet together they shape the comfort and freedom of your later years. Drinking too little water, sitting too long, too much caffeine, overly spicy and processed foods, holding urine, smoking, avoiding doctor visits, eating excessive red meat, carrying belly fat, and ignoring stress. These are the hidden forces enlarging prostates across the country. But they are not destiny. They are choices, and choices can be changed. I have seen men in their 80s live without urinary discomfort because they caught these habits early, and I have seen men a decade younger suffer greatly because they ignored the signals. The difference is not in age, but in action. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? You don't need to overhaul your entire life in a day. Begin with one habit. Sip more water tomorrow. Stand up during the television show tonight. Replace bacon with fresh fruit at breakfast. Every action is a step away from discomfort and toward freedom. Healing the prostate is not about dramatic gestures. It is about consistency, patience, and self-respect. Your body wants to recover, and when you give it the chance, it will surprise you. I want you to remember this. You are not alone in this journey. Millions of men face the same challenges, carry the same questions, and search for the same relief. With the right information and steady habits, it is never too late to begin. Take care of your prostate, and it will take care of you, helping you live, sleep, and love with confidence again. I'm Dr. Maya Kapoor, and if this message has resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, tell me, which habit will you change first? Your answer might be the encouragement another man is waiting for. This is the start of your new chapter, one small step at a time, one healthy choice after another, leading you toward years of strength, ease, and freedom. If something I shared today touched you, leave a comment. Your words may help another man feel less alone. And if you'd like more gentle guidance, subscribe and share this with a friend who might need it most.